Okay. All right. All right. Yep. I didn't know you were gone. Oh, awesome. Well, you're back. Perfect timing. No worries. Yeah. Oh, shoot. I put us on. So, hello, everybody. I forget. I forgot we were streaming for a second. So here we are, everybody. Welcome, Robert Adichie, and we are here with Tim Brown.
Hi, how's it going?
We are doing Ulysses Worlds, and we're here to talk about all things Ulysses. Um, and let's just get started. So, let's see. Someone said no sound from Tim, but I think that should be fixed now. Want to talk real quick,
Yeah, do
Tim?
you have sound
Yeah,
from me?
I see.
My
I
computer had
see that.
reset itself, people, so I think I'm heard. If not, alert Robert and he'll let
Yeah,
me know.
they said it's fixed. So,
Oh,
uh,
okay, thanks.
welcome everybody, and so let's just get into it. The first thing we've been kind of talking about conventions, and we just heard that Origins Online was just canceled. So that's unfortunate, but I guess there's not much we can do about it. I don't know if they're pushing it to the same weekend as their regular con or what they're doing with that. I just heard that it was canceled, so that's unfortunate. But we've got a Ulysses Online convention coming up July 24th through 26th, which is the
Right.
convention that we are working on.
Absolutely. So yeah, by all means, for everybody that's interested in Origins Online and its fate, I would suggest visiting their websites for any sort of announcements. We don't have a lot of information here, but we have all the information there is about Ulysses Con Online, which is coming up July 24th through the 26th, and we have a lot going on there, including a terrific convention package that is already uh, planned out, and we've got everything under creation right now. Isn't that right?
That's right. We are putting together this convention package so you can feel like you were at the con. It includes a T-shirt. It includes a mug. Both of those with the Ulysses Online Con logo, as well as the Ulysses dice. And then there's also some physical products. We're doing the Fading Suns introduction booklet, the Torg Eternity Up the Creek quick start, and a German product for the Dark Eye.
So yeah, with all of that stuff, you can get on board, and together with our German colleagues, we're working together to create a continuous convention experience for that entire weekend, July 24th through the 26th. We're working on getting the schedule together, so anybody who wants to can register games. We just had a meeting about that this morning with several of our guys, including Robert, and we're going to put up a means by which everybody can get involved. We're also going to run quite a few panels and things like that we're getting scheduled over the course of the next week. So we're working quickly to get this all together so that we can round out that entire experience for everybody.
Definitely, definitely. So, watch the website, watch our social media posts, and we'll get that information out there as soon as we pull it together. Hoping this week. So Gen Con, it's been canceled, but they're doing the Gen Con Online, which is the same dates as the original con, which is July 30th through August
Right.
2nd. And so we'll be kind of running in conjunction. That's the weekend after us, but we're doing stuff at our con and at Gen Con, so we'll be doing
Yeah,
both.
we'll have events at both, and I know that especially for our Myth fans, we have quite a bit of material together that we want to do online demonstrations of the game. So
Hmm.
that's stuff that we'll be doing at both of those convention events, our own and at Gen Con the next week. So
Yeah,
keep an eye out for that and hope to see you there.
definitely. Let's see. G asks, will there be any other merchandise sold during the con? I don't think we've really talked about that. I mean, we'll have our regular store up. Is there anything specifically you're looking for? So let's move into Aventuria. So we just got off a call this morning, and we were told that the next products are about to be proofed for the English translations of some of the latest Aventuria adventures. So we are now going to be in the initial talks on planning the next crowdfunding. So that's going to happen real soon. So if you're a fan of Aventuria, pay attention.
Right. That level of proofreading is actually the very last step before you send those English language products off to production. So it's well along its way, and Eric is on top of all of that. We do have some streaming content, of course, for the Aventuria adventure card game. And on Saturdays, if you want, you can. We've been uploading the videos of Eric Simon, who's been playing the solo adventures, and he does those usually at 11 a.m. Pacific every Saturday, and then we upload all those as well. And as usual, everything we talk about today, we post the links after the show, so you can check out where to find all of this stuff.
Definitely. So Ross and JM have been hosting their Campfire Chat every Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific, where they talk about all aspects of the game. And shortly after this show at 11 a.m., there will be a new episode up. So check out our YouTube for that.
Yeah, Myth Tales of Legend, of course, is the role-playing game that we're setting in the world of Myth. Myth, of course, was pioneered by the very successful board game that we have taken over. Ulysses is going to be publishing the new version of that board game under the name Myth: Dawn of Heroes. And we've got the hero design spotlight articles and videos for that game, for the board game relaunch, have been going up every week. So far, we've put out the Hunter and the Brigand.
Yeah,
and,
so you can catch those. They're both articles and they're videos. So you can go read those, or you can listen to them or watch them however you like. But we've got the next one up, and we have Eric Simon brought to you live. Well, I guess not live. Brought to you pre-recorded from his apartment. So here is the next video. This is the spotlight for the Hunter. Here we go.
In many ways, the soldier is the core hero. She works well because she is flexible enough to be played in a variety of ways with a party, but also strong enough to play alone. She isn't too focused on any one thing, but that also means she's never a bad choice to have around. So the soldier does not change much in Dawn of Heroes. That makes her a perfect hero for talking about how we can further fine-tune the things that already work well in Myth. By taking a fresh look at Myth, we can clarify many of the things that work fine, but may be confusing to newer players. First of all, mechanics. Here's one of the soldier's mass taunt cards. Your mother is a crawler. The older version of this card requires you to calculate its range of effect based on threat plus rage, which requires you to do some planning of both card play and positioning before the darkness cycle. The new version is always a 5-square radius, no matter what. The only thing you have to consider is positioning. The new card has a couple other updates on top of this. First, it is now playable in aggressive stance, but you get a bonus in cautious. Second, if you have built up rage this turn, you're going to be easier to hit. This is a balancing effect because the card costs 0 darkness, as well as being more flavorful. On a side note, many of the soldier's interrupts now allow her to draw a card in cautious stance. This makes her an even more effective controller in the darkness cycle. Now let's take a look at a card that is basically unchanged from 2.0 to Dawn of Heroes, but the presentation is quite different. Riding the Edge is an extremely useful card. It attacks multiple targets and it moves the soldier into the middle of the battle. It's great as is. However, you will notice that we've added a diagram to the new version, which also allows us to adjust the wording slightly. However, the effect is exactly the same. Even the stance restrictions and bonuses are effectively the same. The only other change we made is to eliminate the movement restriction, which is part of our overall adjustment to the action economy. And finally, thinking about clarity of flavor. As I keep saying, one of our design goals is to make each hero feel like they have always felt, but more so. One of the ways we can do this is to move away from cards that feel generic towards ones that are more representative of their hero. The Hunter now has more specific ammo cards instead of just ammo the card. Likewise, the Soldier no longer has a card called Attack. These two cards are basically the same, but the name and the art make the new version feel like it really belongs to the Soldier and not to any other hero. This is her card. I'm Eric Simon, lead developer for Myth: Dawn of Heroes.
All right, so we just heard all about the Soldier from Eric, and we'll be putting up that web article up later today along with that video. So if you only caught part of it, you can catch the rest of it on YouTube. Shit. Let's try that again, because I don't think they could hear you. My fault. Let's go back through the Dark Eye, Tim. Sorry.
Oh, well, okay. No problem. We were talking about the Dark Eye, which is the English language version of Das Schwarze Auge, the 5th edition of that game that we've brought out in English. The next crowdfunding for that, the Gods of Aventuria set of products, that's been given a date. It's going to come out July 21st through August 11th for that crowdfunding. So that's going to be for the Gods of Aventuria book itself, and also riding along with that wave of products are the remaining Theater Knights campaign books. That's numbers 4 through 6. So with the Gods of Aventuria crowdfunding, we're going to round out the Theater Knights adventures and complete those for all the fans of those adventures as well.
Yeah, Wild River Games just released the Book of Heroes computer RPG. It just came out yesterday or 2 days ago. So you can get that on Steam. Let us know if you've played that. Anybody in the chat, have you guys played that yet? How are your games going? I'm super stoked to get a key for that so I can start playing that. It looks cool.
Then for streams on the Dark Eye, Robert has finished a read-through of the first Theater Knights adventure, The White Lake. So far, it's been 3 episodes. When are you going to do some more of those?
So I finished The White Lake, which is great. It was a good adventure. I really like how it kind of lays the foundations for the whole campaign. There's a lot of cool drops of information, just like little bits and bops of information that and it tells you how it's going to come in later, which is cool. Like I really like the a lot of times you'll get an adventure and there'll be details, but they don't tell you how it applies for later.
Right.
And this kind of they spell it out so you know what's important, which NPCs are important, that are going to be like what they're going to do later in the campaign, which is really cool. So it helps. I feel like there was a lot of detail in that adventure. I'm excited to run it.
Awesome. So for Fading Suns, the initial crowdfunding that we had for the Fading Suns game, the late pledge for that has just ended. Now we have the word that we're going to get the PDFs out for at least for the 3 main books of that Kickstarter by the end of this month. That is by the end of June. So watch for those, and then we'll get out the other components pretty quickly after that in PDF form to all the backers. What have we got going on streaming-wise for Fading Suns?
Yeah, so JM is running his Fading Suns game. They run that at 5:30 Pacific on Twitch. The new arc is called The Curse of the Abandoned, so check that out. Bill Bridges and Andrew Greenberg have continued their Heretical Musings show. They just had this on this last Tuesday, and then it'll be every the first and third Tuesdays of each month. So check that out. Let's get into Torg Eternity. So
awesome.
With Torg Eternity, we've been having special guests every week, and this week is Torg Eternity's. So I'd like to introduce our special guest, Greg Gorden. Welcome, Greg.
Woohoo! Woo! Greg. Hey. All right.
So
welcome.
If you are not familiar with Greg is our line developer for Torg Eternity. His past writing credits, which I've greatly shortened here, I've just named a few because there are a lot. So check out, if you want to see what Greg's working on, check out his page on RPG Geek. It is I think it was 7 pages worth of stuff. But he has worked on the original Torg Eternity, Star Wars West End games, DC Heroes, AD&D, 4th edition, 3rd edition, Earth Dawn, Star Wars Fantasy Flight, and I'm sure there's more that were not listed, but it is an amazing list. So welcome, Greg.
Thank you. Glad to be here and talking Torg.
Yeah. So we heard that I know a lot of people are going to ask, when are the cyber papacy products going to start shipping?
We just got word today that it's going to be two weeks.
Yay.
And then we'll be shipping the cyber papacy products.
Nice.
The PDFs came out about 2 weeks ago. We're getting good feedback on that.
Awesome.
So it's been this is my most exciting time, when things finally get in the hands of the players.
Mm-hmm. Nice. So once, I know a lot of people ask, like, when do we start selling those things to the general public? And once the backers have that content shipped, then we'll open up purchase for general public, both for physical products and PDFs.
Yes, sir.
So we've started doing, the next crowdfunding for Torg is Starcold, and we started doing the previews. Deanna has put a couple of those up. The first one was kind of like day 365 plus, so kind of like what's been going on a little bit. The one she put up Monday was an overview on Aspirants and the race. What can you tell us about those?
The Aspirants are new to this version of Starcold. The law of evil is diffusing. Well, I'll back up 1 second. The world laws of Starcold, which are enforce the reality of Starcold, are actually slowly killing the cosmos itself. One of those, the law of evil, has started to diffuse, so demons have a harder time staying demonic. So aspirants are those who decide that free will is better than absolute cruelty. And so they are aspiring to be agents of free will instead of just servants of evil. And that means, of course, you will eventually have aspirant player character archetypes. So we've been testing those, and they're a departure, and they're quite a bit of fun to play.
Nice. So if you guys have questions for Greg about the Aspirants, about Starcold, go ahead and put them in the chat, and we will ask them as we go. So what can you tell us about the race, Greg?
They are the poor unfortunate humans left over from the original realm who've come on over. So they are someone who's lived in a combination of an authoritarian regime mixed with Mad Max. They have the worst of all worlds. That means that they are absolute tough SOBs. So they are the ultimate survivors. You're not going to pull anything over on them. And again, there'll be archetypes where you can play the race, but they also give you, for the first time, Storm Knights are going to have to come up against a general populace who's going to look at them with a jaundiced eye. They're not going to look at Storm Knights as heroes and rescuers. They're going to look at us, oh, look, it's another interloper looking to make my life more difficult. So Starcold is just a scary, difficult place for your Storm Knights.
So what are some of the developments of Starcold? Like you've added the Aspirants. What else? For original Torg fans, kind of what else has changed?
Well, probably the biggest change is if the people who followed old Torg remember that Starcold showed up in Los Angeles and spread from there. This one shows up in Russia. Right. And we have a couple of people who lived in Russia to help us get some of those details right.
Nice.
And when you start from a base of old Cold War places and secrets and make them far worse, you get a really pretty astounding adventuring environment. There's just some stuff where my authors would come to me, hey, look at this. This one's real. I'm like, well, that's going in. That's absolutely going in. Let's slap that right in there. There are just so many places that fit so well into Starcold. When you just turn those up to 11, it's post-apocalyptic gaming at 110 miles an hour.
Nice. So tell us about that change from coming in from LA to Russia. Like what prompted that?
Part of it was just that, the original Starcold showing up in what was essentially living land territory made it less special because it was highly constrained. Starcold is one of the major power players in the new Possibility Wars. They have the ability to, technology to stop the cyber papacy, and enough magic to go toe to toe with Isle. But they're on a strict timeline because, like I said, their world is kind of dying. So if they don't get stuff set up, the clock's going to run out. So you've got a advanced, desperate demonoid race running roughshod over Europe. The other thing that is different about them is, since they are the survival of the fittest realm, this darkness device has decided that his current High Lord is none too fit to lead them. So this leads to, within the source book, a civil war between the three main players. So you've got a lot of political intrigue, a lot of military action going on. You just have this mix of incredible just mayhem going on inside of this one realm.
Nice. Forbin Project asks, what's the overall tone of Tharkold in the way that cyber papacy favors intrigue, Orash favors horror, etc.?
This one is, if you took Hellraiser and matched it with Mad Max, you get pretty close. So it's definitely more the splatter horror. You've got the largest guns of any realm get attached to your techno demons. So it is just, it's gunplay and body horror and high-speed action. So you have, whereas Aurosh is going to be more Lovecraftian, and it's going to be more investigation, the Tharkold is high-speed survival. You've got to deal with these things that are just absolutely brutal, and at the end of the day, you hope you made a difference.
Nice. And let's see, somebody asks, are we looking around the online con time for Tharkold crowdfunding? Well, Greg, why don't you let us know what those dates are for the crowdfunding?
I believe the answer to that is, why, yes. We're doing the Tharkold crowdfunding, I believe, is slotted for July 23rd, and the convention starts the 24th, right?
No, so we're doing actually June 23rd. So June 23rd. And then the convention starts July 24th. So we're actually going to be just before it. I'm
completely wrong. Cool.
just before it, yeah. But
Okay.
But you heard it here. First time we've announced it. June 23rd through July 14th is going to be the Tharkold crowdfunding, and that's going to be on Game On Tabletop. And we will, of course, put that. As soon as we get a link for that, we will shout that from the rooftops.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. So we've also been we're still doing the stay at home and play Torg Eternity. You can find that on the website at ulysses-us.com. It features the brand new Torg Eternity quick start called Up the Creek. It features a 1-hour demo and includes pre-generated characters, a map, and some monster blips. We also recently added the Day 1 adventures and the Dream screen and archetypes as pay what you want from Drive-Thru RPG. Now that Torg Eternity quick start, the Up the Creek quick start, that's also going to be in print in the Ulysses online convention package. So if you want to get that in print, go ahead and grab one of those packages and we'll include that. So you can find all this information at ulysses-us.com. So Greg, what else can you tell us about Tharkold? Something that you really like, maybe some aspect that you created, or something that you really like that somebody else created, maybe?
I think, as I said, it was the integration of weird world places within Tharkold. This is one of the most authentic realms in that sense, so that we have, you have a feeling of place that I think the other realms were just developing. This one is really pretty good. And authors like Zor Verlakian, whose real name I can't remember because I only see him by his chat handle, really did a good job of catching us up and going, well, that's a really dumb Russian name, getting us on cultural stuff, how meetings might happen, how dead drops might happen. So there's a feeling of place that I think is stronger in Tharkold than we've been able to achieve in some other ones.
Nice. That's great. So
in the broader sense, I'd love to ask a question. I know that we're rolling through the different cosms and releasing them over time, and then that's going to continue for a while. until we've really hit all of them, or at least all of the major ones. I wonder if you want to touch at all on your thoughts about where Torg might go after the major cosms have actually all been published. Where do you think
we're
it's going to head?
we're starting to tease that a little bit at the end of Relics of Power.
Yeah.
You see they have sort of year 2 previews.
Right.
And one of those, Operation Kamagaz, which is attached to the Pan Pacifica, will be the mega adventure for Pan Pacifica, which is basically the transition from year 1 to year 2. So we are starting to tease some of that. And when Cosms collide, we have teased the fact that there are different abilities that Storm Knights can have than the traditional 2 that all Storm Knights have in basis. So we're starting to show you how the world will evolve and expand out of this.
Cool.
And I would say Arosh also will give you the Gotman's Endgame. And the Gotman's Endgame is what forces the war to go to high speed.
Okay.
So you're going to be really starting to see events take off at that point.
Well, of course, the more cosms that are in play, the more Storm Knights can move between them and take advantage, at least in a game situation, of the changes from one to the other and try to deal with how things change as you move from cosm to cosm. Yeah. I would assume that most of the adventures that happen in year 2 are going to be more cosm, not so much cosm specific, but cosm spanning. Is that your feeling at this point, or?
There'll be, I guess, some spoilers. Once the Space Gods have set up base in Hawaii, which they do at the end of, start doing at the end of Relics of Power, the nature of Core Earth mission starts to change. It's got a special place in the universe. It starts to realize that. So, yes, we will at the very least be jumping from the cosmos to cosmos on Core Earth, and probably beyond that.
Awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
Interesting. Let's see. So G asks, what tier wise is replacing Gen Con tier? Oh, so he's asking about those those Gen Con adventures. What are we doing with those in the new crowdfunding?
I believe we're leaving them in because, from Tharkel's point of view, that's going to be next Gen Con.
Right.
It won't be this year. It'll be the following. And then what we're going to have to do for the current ones is I want to offer them the option of, well, we can wait until the succeeding Gen Con, or I can run you an online adventure that will be the same thing. So I haven't polled the players yet, and I don't know what the answer is going to be. But I believe that for Tharkold, Orosh, and Pan Pacifica, we're going back to the live cons, simply because that's there's more interactivity there, and I think that it's better drama doing some of this stuff face to face if we can. But if we can't, then we're going to do it online.
Sure.
Fair enough.
And Forbin Project asks, is there anything you can tell us about Infiniverse updates?
Yes, Infiniverse updates are going to be adventures set in the cosmos other than the main cosm we are featuring. And they are going to move some of the other year 1 plot points forward. And we're also bringing in some of the Infiniverse product that is being published on Drive-Thru RPG, and I won't say making them canon, but showing you that the Torg universe is quite a bit larger than what we've just done so far. So David Chart is going to actually do an update of the adventure he published on Infiniverse. So we're rolling some of his stuff into canon.
Nice.
We're rolling some of the other authors' stuff into canon. We'll be giving you a strong indication of how the contagion is going to resolve in Pan Pacifica before the Pan Pacifica book. Because that exact resolution will be dependent upon what the Storm Knights do. So we're trying to get some of the feel of the old Infiniverse newsletter by both giving you updates to the campaign plot and allowing the Storm Knights to make some decisions about those campaign plots that we will then listen to in the feedback and incorporate in the future product.
Cool.
Nice. I remember when we had Daryl on, someone had asked this, and I thought it would be appropriate here as well. For those, for the adventures that came out last Gen Con, they come out, like we release those, right? So where are we at with those adventures?
I believe we've released 2 of them, and that's what we've released so far. But Daryl ran the others, but unfortunately he's got this other day job called Space 1889.
Mm-hmm.
So it may take him a little while to get those to a shape that he can hand them off to me.
Okay, those are
Okay.
his.
So-
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. But those are still planned to be released.
Gotcha. So, Greg, tell us about the for people that maybe are a little bit newer to Tharkold. Like, what are the cyber demons, and how do they kind of interact in the world?
They are the embodiment of evil, which is why they need they are the apex predators of the evil ecosystem. And the problem is when the evil starts to decline, they start to decline. So they are different than the Isle and strictly supernatural demons in that they need 2 axioms to be maintained to survive, and both of those are diminishing. So they are powerful predators whose time on Earth is coming to an end. So they are absolutely brutal and desperate, which makes them really good villains.
Nice.
I was wondering if, in the larger sense, Greg, if you have any recollections from your original work on Torg way back when, if there's any tidbits you'd like to share that you think some of the fans might find interesting, or just your impressions of it in its earliest days, anything like that you've got for us today?
I would say it's more that the difference between Torg Eternity and Old Torg is becoming more pronounced as we're moving along. And I think the Torg Eternity universe is become more interesting than Old Torg was. We are adding more subplots, more layers of stuff, more, essentially knobs that the game master can tweak. And so I think we're going to have a very, very rich campaign. And I think that year 2, where we hope to turn some of the major decisions over to the players, will be a lot of fun to play through. So I think we were trying to get the best of some of the interactivity from Old Torg with the industry is more sophisticated now. The stories are generally better. It's like television. Television is just better now than it was in the 80s and 90s. We have our nostalgic recollections till you go back at some of those Nick at Night stuff and watch those and go, wow, I used to watch this every week. I was desperate, so
Well,
I think
simple lives we all had.
yeah. And there's just the diversity of writers we've got, the points of view we've got. There's just a lot of going into the mix that didn't go into Old Torg. And as much as I loved Old Torg, I think this one is just going to be a much stronger product. I think the adventure potential is much higher.
So just touching on that one other detail. So exactly, as far as your participation in the original design of Torg, were you there from day one? Was this how much of this sprung from your brain entirely?
It was a homebrew campaign that started as an offshoot of DC Heroes when I was just running stuff in Chicago, and I played it for about 1.5 years, 2 years before I went to work for West End. West End got the wheelbarrow of money from Star Wars and said, hey, before the wheelbarrow of money runs out, maybe we should do another game. And so I proposed Torg. And so I'd say, yeah, I was, pre-day one. It's just something I thought about for a long time of how realities would compete with each other instead of just mixing nicely together. So
how much can you or do you want to share about the genesis of the name itself, Torg?
We had Torg became the water cooler conversation because marketing wanted to name it. Bill Slavicsek wanted to name it. I actually stopped caring pretty early, but we couldn't agree on a name, and the budget line item was the other role-playing game, which was Torg, and that just stuck. And it was really fortuitous that there's an island off of Norway called Torg Island, which is reputed to be one of the battle sites for Ragnarok. And that portion of the Torg Island, at least at that point, was where they decided who the ultimate leader was going to be. And I thought, thank you, reality.
Nice.
Greatly appreciated. So
Serendipitous.
Torg became the title that they were all striving for to become the ultimate arbiter of reality.
That's funny. Yeah, I've got like a Google reminder up, so it like sends me all the news about Torg, right? Because I'm looking for Torg. People are talking about Torg Eternity wherever, but a lot of times, it comes up with that island, some piece of tidbit news about it. I'm like, one of these days I should read about that.
Yeah.
We should hold a convention there.
There you go.
That's the other. I did write an Infinitiverse adventure because there is a Torg guest house in Iceland. So I send the players to the Torg guest house, and I thought that's on my bucket list is to run like a Torg convention game in the Torg guest house.
Nice.
That Iceland. Sounds like a GoFundMe we should start now. Send Greg to
definitely
Torg house. Yeah.
To run some Torg. Yes.
All right, folks. So those of you that are in the chat, if you've got any more questions for Greg about Torg or for us about anything else, go ahead and put them in the chat, and we'll get to them.
Well, we already have some good streaming material coming out as well. What can you tell us about that, Robert?
So JM is streaming the group. They're calling themselves the Four Horsemen, and that's every Tuesday at 5:30 Pacific on Twitch, followed up by uploads on YouTube, and it also features Ross Watson, one of the Torg Eternity designers, as a player.
And I'd like to add that I would encourage folks to come by, because I hang out in the chat and we end up talking Torg rules and Torg stuff and having a pretty good time when the game's going on. Nice. And interacting. And so if you want to have, if you're just starting a game or learning the rules, it's a friendly place to, help kickstart your game.
Nice. Yeah. So definitely, if you want to chat a bit more with Greg, jump into that chat. And so that's, again, every Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. on our Twitch channel, followed up by the upload on YouTube. Can't chat with Greg in the YouTube upload because then it's already there. But
you can chat all you want. I'm not sure.
Yeah, exactly. G asks, so the games during the online con gonna cost a fee? And I don't think so, right? They're all gonna be. I don't think we have any. There's no plans to charge anything for registration or for playing games.
Come and play.
Yeah.
Right. I'll be running 2 games, at least 2 sessions. Brian Reeves, who's the author of The Blasted Lands and parts of Untitled Data, will also be running. So the Torg pros will be there, and we'll be running games. Nice. You can come and play with us.
Yeah, we'll have some panels as well, so there'll be more opportunities to hear cool backstories and things like that. Speaking of that, Greg, what can you tell us about like in Cyber Papacy? What do you think was your kind of favorite aspect of writing that?
It was the realm of what I call voluntary conquest. They are the least aggressive of the realms in terms of trying to overrun you. They are selling you salvation. They're selling you the mountain, which is where you can participate in the virtual reality version of salvation. So it's this, submit to autocracy and theocracy and life gets better, which is somewhat topical and also a different spin compared to the Living Land or Isle or even Nile, where they're definitely trying to, beat you into submission with their forces. So you do get games of intrigue and politics and sort of more idea games. So you can role play very different scenarios than you could in the first 3 realms. So I think it's a really good narrative addition to the Torg universe. It lets you explore themes and stuff. There are some of the Infiniverse adventures for that. I mean, I'd say Bill Slavisek's, Tracy Sizemore's, Rhiannon Louve's, get to explore some of the diverse stuff. So it's probably, the Delphi Council missions are probably the most diverse in terms of what the players do we've had with any realm, which sort of shows off the diversity of adventure you can have within the Cyber Papacy.
Nice. Um, Frank Muehlner says cyber papacy has become the scariest cosm.
It depends on your definition of horror, but for my view, it's either that or a Rorsch. And since Daryl and I are still writing a Rorsch, I obviously have a bias. But just in terms of how do you defeat something where people have voluntarily submitted, and the way it erodes sort of your spirit, it's a very believable dystopian place for all the fantastic stuff that's going in. It also features a darkness device that is, frankly, batshit crazy. It is doing stuff darkness devices aren't supposed to do, and you know it's not going to end well for anybody. And just watching that devolution is really good horror stuff.
Nice. Forbin Project says each of the source books so far has deepened some of the game areas: traps, the godnet, wonders, enchanted items. What's the new rules area in Tharkold, if there is one?
Good question.
I would say there are elements of survival horror, as well as the blasted lands, and the different take on technology. So you're going to have 3 by the time we're all done, high tech, and they each have different flavors. You're going to have the Cyber Papacy, Pan Pacifica, and Tharkold. Well, Tharkold's occult tech and stuff functions mechanically different in terms of the price that a character has to pay to get to use it, the sort of narrative consequences. So I'd say we embrace survival horror for that one. So you are going to run, those sorts of missions in Tharkold.
Nice. So, I'm pretty new to Torg. I've been, delving through a lot of stuff. So we talk about the cosms a lot. Obviously, they're big, big points in the game. What about places that don't have a cosm that's part of them? Like, I don't know, Central America, or, I know Central America has some, the living land stuff and whatnot, but like, what about the other places that don't necessarily have a cosm tied to them, like the core Earth kind of areas? What are they doing?
We are still expecting to have, it may be a PDF only product at this point, but a Core Earth handbook, which is going to explain what Core Earth is doing. And as I mentioned, in year 2 particularly, Core Earth's role is going to change, and its destiny is going to change. So it absolutely will have a flavor, if you will, much as the other cosms do. It's going to happen to be, it's our Earth. It now does this. Mm-hmm. So it's still our modern reality with this other stuff layered over.
Nice. So it is that different than what was done before with original Torg?
Yes, I can absolutely say that. I don't know where we're going with spoilers on stuff, but we'll say I could do the one spoiler, which Mobius and the Gotman are going to go at it hammers and tongs, and depending on how that part of the war ends up, which depends on what the players are going to do, that will inform the Core Earth response. And I love Dr. Mobius's plan. Turns out he is an evil genius.
Nice. So you said kind of depends on what the players do. So how are players, informing game design?
We have the awesome Google response forms, and we are taking that feedback and we're starting to incorporate that into even like Pan Pacifica has got some of that feedback in it. Tharkold had a tiny bit. We're going to have a lot more in the Infinitiverse update. So it's like voting. You vote on who survived, what the adventure status was at the end, and those things do add up. We take a look at it and go, okay, that becomes the fact that we wrap our adventure around. Mm-hmm. So the players are still, it's more invisible than it was in old Torg, but absolutely. I mean, if you want to influence the future of Torg, play Relics of Power and do that feedback, and you will change a couple of product lines within
Nice.
Torg. I promise you. So that's the way we're incorporating player feedback. I'd say Relics of Power and When Cosmos Collide are probably the two most important you'd like to get us feedback on, because those are really going to nudge things around.
And is there a deadline for that feedback? I mean, obviously you can't,
No,
you've already
we just
written on stuff, but
right. That's what I'm saying. That that was the problem with Tharkle. Tharkle was largely in the works by the time some of the stuff came out.
mm-hmm.
So, we keep. I won't say we look. We're not going to look at them daily, but we look. If we see a significant nudge, then we'll talk about it. We've got our Discord channels where we go, hey, what about doing this? And so we go pretty late in the development process with user feedback, because that incorporates both things the playtesters tell us and what the players of previous product have told us. So really until playtest closes, you can give us feedback through the Google Docs, because
Right.
that's still part of the feedback as far as we're concerned.
Cool. And so what would you say to players and game masters where they turned in feedback and, X NPC survives, but for the majority of other people, or I should say the other way around, so X NPC died in their game, but in the majority of other people, they lived, and so that's sort of the core kind of canon that moves forward. How would you explain for those other people that had a different result? Like how would they reconcile those two things?
The conceit of Torg all the way from the beginning is that there are a lot of different realities. So we can't tell you how all of them turned out. We're going to have to go with sort of the majority. But if you had this event, what I'm trying to do on a go forward basis, so really with the Rorsch Pan Pacifica, is sort of say, this is because of X. And if X didn't happen in your game, you can ignore that part. Okay. Singapore
Right.
doesn't fall because of X. And so you can go, oh, well, my NPC lived, or the Baroness decided to go with Core Earth, and you'll have to modify it, but you'll at least see what happened because that character survived. That's my goal. And if we can make those tie-ins a little bit stronger than we have in the past, then you should be able to modify your campaign. But it's more that you'll see that, if your decision is just different, you'll have to do the mods on your own.
Mm-hmm.
But that there was a decision point. It's like an election. You can lose the election, but you can see like, okay, this was a decision point that made a difference.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Cool.
Yeah, so last call for questions. If you've got some questions, go ahead and throw them in the chat, and we will ask Greg. So, Greg, you said you've been watching those Torg streams. What have you, what do you like about those streams? What's kind of grabbed you as you watched them?
I think Jam is a really good game master for taking player suggestions and incorporating them on the fly. So the sessions are really pretty dynamic from that point of view. And you have a real range of experience with the players, from Maddie, who this is the first go-round of Torg ever, for somebody who this is their second campaign of Torg, to somebody who's played Torg from old Torg, to Ross, who's written it. And you're
Nice.
watching how that all works together, and it does work. And that to me is fairly amazing to watch them all put the story together with their different interpretations of how the rules work, and they've hit their stride. The Four Horsemen have hit their stride. So it's
Awesome.
both entertaining, and the chat where I'm answering questions and stuff is like a second show. And so there's just it's not quite Rocky Horror level, but often it's both funny and informative, where you're just going along like, oh yeah, that's what they're doing here. It's because she's using teleport, but is constrained by this. So you just go through and you can explain the behind the scenes stuff, and you get the feeling that what JM is doing is completely legitimate. This is absolutely a game of Torg, and this is what's going on.
Awesome. Is there anything that, like, while you've been watching, you're like, wow, I didn't realize, that maybe that something that people are doing that you didn't realize would be done that way in the game, or anything like that?
Not yet, but I suspect they're edging around a couple of rules gaps where I went, oh, if they go this way, and they haven't yet, but somebody will. I think Maddie, who's the new player, is pushing the edge of a couple of skills by asking some reasonable stuff. And I think she'll surprise me with 1 or 2 sessions. She will come up like, oh, that's good. That'll work. Yeah, sure.
Nice. Let's see. Forbidden Project says, we've just started playing Aurora characters, and some players had to generate their characters quite mindfully. How are you dealing with the difficulties around colonialism that are inherent in that genre?
Yes, it is inherent in the genre. It is part of the evil that is Aurora. You have both the supernatural horrors and then the Victorians are coming in going, we've got the solution. No, they don't. they flat out don't. So in Aurora, there's still, like I said, we're still writing that, but it has to be clear that the Victorian solution is wrong. The colonialism is wrong. So there, you, as Core Earth, are fighting against essentially 2 opponents. You're fighting against the supernatural evil and the reintroduction of colonialism into India, which is, as far as I'm concerned, is the greater horror for the Indian people who, they've done this rodeo once. They really don't want to do it again. Mm-hmm. So you have 2 things that they're fighting against.
Nice. Yeah, you got both Frank Milner and Delphrian saying that's brilliant and they love it. Well put. Awesome. Yeah, so people like that answer. Well, cool. Well, I think if that's it from the chat, I think we're gonna call it a day. It's been about 50 minutes. So I just want to remind everybody. So June 23rd through July 14th is gonna be the crowdfunding for Torg Eternity Tharkold. That will be on Game On Tabletop, and again, we will announce that the location, the exact URL when we're ready to go. So with that, Deanna has been posting weekly so far, but we're gonna actually up that this week to twice a week for some more previews going on for Tharkold, so you can see a bunch of the cool things that are gonna come out, and you guys can be ready for that crowdfunding. All right. Well, terrific. I think, I don't see any other questions. So I think that's where we'll call it. So thank you, Greg. Where can people find you online aside from the chat of the Torg stream?
Well, I'm Greg Gorden 1 on Twitter. That's an occasional presence. I don't hang out online other than in game sessions that much. That's probably the best place you can find me.
All right. That
is either the online session or, like I said, I do tweet. So
perfect.
Fair enough. Thanks for joining us today, Greg.
Yeah,
thank you.
Frank Milner says, just thank Greg for his incredible worlds and decades of fun for me and my friends. So there you go, Greg.
Awesome.
Well, thank you.
All right, so everybody, thank you for watching the Ulysses Worlds news show. If you like the show, please follow and subscribe to our channels on Twitch and YouTube, and turn on those notifications so you don't miss anything. So for Ulysses Spiel, I'm Robert Aducci, and this is Tim Brown.
How's it going? Thanks for staying with us today. We had a good time.
Yeah, thanks for watching, and come back next Thursday at 9 a.m. Pacific for more Ulysses Worlds and another guest. All right, everybody, have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.